Does grip size really matter? I'm sure you've heard, and I've always heard, if you have a narrower grip, it's going to be easier to get the hands more active, get the club face more closed. So if you're someone who struggles with getting the club face closed, you hit a lot of slices, you may want to consider a narrower grip. And if you're someone who is overactive with the hands, you get the face too closed, and you want to stabilize this face a little bit more, you may want to use a larger grip. And I've always thought this, and I've changed from mid-size to standard grip. I gotta be honest with you, I really never saw much of a difference in performance. It was really basically the same. So I wondered, has anybody really tested this? And I found out that our good friends over at Ping have actually tested this. They took golfers out, roughly, between 5 and 10 handicap, I believe it was, with their driver, and they had them hit 10 shots with a narrow grip, a standard grip, and then also a grip that's a 16th inch larger. And what they found was that there really wasn't any difference, any discernible difference between the dispersion of the shots, the distance, none of that. It was all pretty much the same when they went from a narrower grip to a standard grip to a larger grip. It was really pretty much the same. And it was the same as long as they kept the weight of the grip the same. Now when they changed the weight of the grip, so if they used a larger grip and then also that added weight, then they saw differences. They saw differences in closure rate. It slowed down the closure rate. They found differences in dispersion, right? And it made the golfers a little bit slower as well, because if you add some weight, that's going to make you a little bit slower. So they found out grip size alone really doesn't make any difference. But if you get a bigger grip and it also weighs more, that can make a difference. Now I know you might be thinking, well, why not just get a really, really heavy grip, and then you'll really be able to control the face, and you'll hit everything dead straight. It makes sense to do that, but we wouldn't really want to do that to the extreme. You see, if I have this sledgehammer here, right, that if we put a bunch of weight here, imagine turning this sledgehammer around, right? If we put a lot more weight in the handle of the club, that changes the balance point, right? So we're not going to be able to feel the head as much. So I tell you what, if I have this sledgehammer like this, I'm going to be able to much more easily hit something. If I'm aiming for a target, I'm going to be able to more easily hit something. If I'm driving in a nail, I'd much rather have the heavy end on this end and have the light end here, because I'm going to be able to control that a lot more easily. Whereas if I turn this around, right, if I turn this around and now this is the very heavy end and this is the light end, I just don't have much feel for where this is, right? So if we put more weight here, that changes the balance point of the club, and it makes it more difficult to know and feel where the club head is, right? So you have to find that proper balance. The other thing is that it's going to make you slower, right? The more weight we have, the slower we're going to swing. So we don't want to put a bunch of weight in the club head, because then we're going to lose our distance. So you have to find that happy medium that really works for you. The weight of the grip and all those things, and the balance point that gets you the proper consistency and the speed and everything that you want. So like I said, we wouldn't want to put a bunch of weight in there. What was interesting also in this study from Ping was that they didn't test super large grips. And this test, or this experiment that they did, was done in 2018. I'm not sure when these jumbo grips came onto the scene. It may have been around that time. But this jumbo grip, the biggest grip that they tested in their study was a 16th inch larger than standard, right? This is, I believe, 3/8 of an inch, so a lot bigger. So I thought, well, I wonder if I would get the same results if I went extreme with it. I got a jumbo grip. So I tried to replicate the experiment that they did. Now, I didn't have an extra driver, but I did have this extra 3-wood. This is my old 3-wood. So I thought it would be a good test because I haven't swung this thing in a while. I had the standard grip that was on there. It was a Golf Pride Tour Velvet. They're actually the same mass. It's pretty insane. I didn't realize this, but these jumbo grips, they're basically the same weight as a standard grip. So they make them really large, and they call them the ultra light. They claim that it's 25% lighter, but compared to the standard grip, it was like, this was actually maybe a few grams heavier. I believe this is about 50 grams, and my Golf Pride Tour Velvet grip is somewhere like 47, 48. So roughly about the same weight. So I thought it would be a good experiment to test these two. So with the standard grip on there, took me, we'll show you the shots here in a minute. I took 10 shots just like they did in the experiment. I teed it up slightly to try to take the ground out of it as much as I could. And with the standard grip, I generally try to hit a draw ball flight pattern. This is my old 3-wood, so it took me a couple swings. I kind of faded the first one, then I straightened out the next one, then the rest of the ones after that were pretty much draws or overcooked draws. And pretty normal compared to my, my 3-wood that I play right now, 270-ish for the distance, typically playing a draw, swinging about 104 miles per hour. The dispersion between the shots with the jumbo and with the standard was quite a bit different. So I tried out this jumbo, and I gotta tell you, this is kind of insane. I had a hard time getting comfortable with this. I mean, it's like holding a Coke can and trying to swing a golf club. So I found that the dispersion was quite a bit bigger with the jumbo grip because I was thinning and chunking a lot of shots just because I was very, very uncomfortable with this big of a grip. So the distance went down, the dispersion got a lot bigger because I was hitting some shots chunky, like I was hitting the ground a little bit even though I was teeing it up, because just this jumbo grip is kind of crazy. But from left to right, there really wasn't much of a difference. You know, I hit a lot of draws, I hit a lot of kind of funky shots. I also was having trouble hitting it in the center of the face just because I was uncomfortable with it. Now the main thing that I took away from this, from the you know, the jumbo versus the standard, is that my club head speed with the jumbo was quite a bit less. So I was swinging about 104 miles per hour with the standard grip on this club on average, and this one I was at on average at 100 with the jumbo grip on there. So I just think that, you know, it was just, I didn't feel like I had control of the club because this is just so big, right? Now, this is just me. That doesn't mean that you may not benefit from a jumbo grip. You may have a lot larger hands than I do, like I have fairly average size hands, and you know, this may feel a lot more comfortable for you. And I think that's the moral of the story. When it comes to choosing your grip, you need to choose what is most comfortable to you. That's what I would try to choose. And I'd work with your fitter to find the right weight of grip that's going to work the best for you, that's going to allow you to swing the fastest, and going to allow you to control the face the most. That's something you're going to need to do between you and your fitter. But as far as the size of the grip, that's something you have to figure out is what is the most comfortable for you. For me, jumbo is not for me. It's very uncomfortable. I actually swing slower with it because I don't feel I can hold on to it as well. Obviously, Bryson loves the jumbo. It works really well for him, and he sticks with that. You know, he could probably do fine with a standard, but he prefers the jumbo. So you just have to find what weight. It really does, size does not matter. Weight of the grip matters. Size of the grip matters in the sense of what is most comfortable to you. All right, so that's the takeaway from this, is we want the most comfortable grip possible for the size of the grip that we're using. Now, if you really want to learn to control this club face, it's not going to come down to using the proper grip size, or the grip weight can make a small difference, as they found in the Ping study. But if you really want to learn to control the club face, we have to learn to be able to stay in our posture and shallow out this club, so that way we don't stand up out of it and flip the hands through, because that's really what's happening. When I come down steep, right, and I can't stay in my posture if I do this, right? I have to stand up and I have to flip and roll my hands over hard, right? So if we want to learn to really control this face, we have to learn the proper wrist angles coming down. We have to learn how to use our arms and everything coming down to be able to stay in our posture and keep this face nice and stable all the way through, so that way you can control it. So if you want to learn to do that, I highly recommend sticking around. I'm going to play a preview of a video where Clay Ballard, our founder of Top Speed Golf here, he's going to show you exactly a great drill to get you in the right position, to stop standing up out of it and start controlling that face. So get the right grips, and if you want to see this video, all you have to do is click the iCard that's going to appear up on your screen. If you don't see the iCard, no worries. You can click the link in the description below. Play well, and I'll talk to you soon.
Now the bottom line is that by trying to ring that bell or pull the hands down more from the inside, it gets the club shaft steep and runs your entire downswing. Now what you end up having to do is, to keep from just keeping down on that steep angle and burying the club behind the golf ball, you have to stand up out of your posture, and that's really the root cause of all your problems. Now maybe you're being outdriven way too often, or you're terribly inconsistent with your strikes. Some of your shots are heavy, some of them are thin, some of them are off the toe, and then the next ones are way off the heel. Now you end up way over in the trees, you're in the tall grass, or maybe even the hazards all day long, and it really comes down to this. Clay, how in the heck do we fix it? Well, there's some good news. Well, there's only two things that you need to learn. First, you need to learn to shallow the club rather than pulling the hands down and getting the shaft in this steep position. You see, there's another way that the pros do this, and once you start to get that club on this shallower plane, more from the inside, then you pair that up with the right way to square the club face. And once you put these two things together, everything starts to fit in your swing. Now your buddies will start to get a little bit jealous because you'll start hitting solid, longer drives, time after time, and round after round. Now I'm going to teach you this right now in what I call the E-slot technique. Let's walk through exactly how to do it. So here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and take a swing to the top and get in a really good position. I want you to feel like your weight is mostly shifted to your right side and that your hips and shoulders are nice and free. I don't want to be locked up here. I want my knees to move, my hips to move. And that's going to allow me to swing my shoulders very nicely. Now, one thing that most people get wrong when they swing to the top is they don't get this tilt away from the target. So instead of being straight up and down or leaning to the left, I want to be slightly tilted away in what I call the stable fluid spine in my topspeed golf system. Okay, so now that you're at this great position at the top of the swing, what I want you to do is instead of pulling those arms straight down or ringing the bell, that's going to get the club shaft steep and get this elbow kind of flapping behind your body. I want you to do something very specific. I want you to take the tip of your elbow and move it in a specific way. Now, not this small bone on the inside of your elbow, but I want it to be right here at the tip, and here's what I want you to do.